Hi, my name is Marvellous.
And I'm Seun. Join us every Friday at 2 o'clock on Youth Today.
As we delve into youth affairs and lifestyle today, we
We
look
look
forward
forward
to
to
sharing
sharing
with
with
you.
you.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome back on the show today. This is Youth Today on AP Radio UK and MZ Radio London, and of course, I am with my co-host Sean today.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, yeah. So, once again, just welcome everybody back on the show today. Well, we've been talking about a really interesting topic for a while now. We started last week actually, called toxic femininity. And of course, there's two sides to the coin. So we have both toxic femininity and toxic masculinity, which we'll be looking at over the course of about 4 weeks. We started last week with toxic femininity, and we spoke about a couple things. One of which was, you know, trying to get the difference, make it clear the difference between toxic feminism and toxic femininity. And of course, we all know that, when we talk about feminism, we're talking about, advocating for the rights of females in the community. But when we talk about femininity, we're talking about everything that has to do with being a woman. And when we say everything that has to do with being a woman is toxic, and we're basically looking at the downsides to it when they are exaggerated. We spoke about so many different things, mentioning that there are so many, should I say, beliefs that people have. For example, women are more sensitive. We display more emotions, especially when we're in a relationship. And so women try to sometimes exaggerate that feeling that they get. They exaggerate their sensitivity to the point where they begin to suffer abuse in their relationships, or they they are in a relationship where the men are not doing what they're supposed to do, and because they're trying to be nice and sweet and sensitive and all that, they keep to themselves. They don't ask for help, or they don't even have conversations with the men just because they're scared of hurting their feelings. We spoke about a bunch of things. I'll let Sean tell us as well some of the things that we talked about last week as well, just a few of them.
Well, yeah, I feel like you've actually mentioned everything.
Yes.
To be
Yeah.
fair, you have just talked about toxic femininity and
Mm-hmm.
how we contribute to it as women, even though we are fighting for rights of women to be heard, but at the same time we are contributing to toxic femininity and also maybe jeopardizing the movement which we're trying to achieve as women as well. So
Yeah. I mean, I also, while we were talking last week as well, so many things came up, and I think we'll be talking more about these things anyways. For today, we want to focus more on toxic masculinity this time, but we'll be talking more about them with guests, obviously, in the coming weeks. But yeah, I think we really hit the nail on the head last week talking about toxic femininity. Of course, we ended the session as we always do with a Bible reading from First Peter chapter 3, verse 3 to 4. We talked about the fact that women, should not be only concerned about their outward appearance, but as women, the Bible says that we also need to work on our inner man. We need to work on what we are on the inside, our character. We must be self-controlled and calm. We must have a gentle and a peaceful spirit, so that the will of God may be done. So we talked about quite the number of things last week, but just this week we'll be looking more on toxic masculinity. So that I was about to say, so that we're not sexist. So if we look at the female side, then we look at the male side as well. So we'll just do a quick introduction to the topic before we go on our break, and when we come back from our break, we will be, yeah, basically expatiating on these points that we give. So, just to start with, I'll give a quick introduction on the topic toxic masculinity. When we hear toxic masculinity, we think about toxic feminism, but this time around it involves men rather than women. So if toxic femininity has to do with, women using what makes them women to their own advantage, or women exaggerating those qualities, then we're talking about the same thing for men. So the things that make men, the qualities that make men, when it's exaggerated or it's used in the wrong fashion, then that it becomes toxic. So that's basically what toxic masculinity is about. And well, I'll let Shem if she has anything to say regarding toxic masculinity.
I mean, yeah, just like we talked about toxic femininity last week. So the flip side to that is toxic masculinity. And I remember mentioning last week that, toxic masculinity, toxic femininity is actually born out of toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
So, in the event that men are trying to be, too masculine, a woman also wants to have her own say. I mean, it's only natural, but that shouldn't really be the case. And like we also said last week, toxic femininity can be you doing something that is not necessarily bad, that's good, but it's just toxic because, I mean, you want to try your best to be very feminine. You want to, that kind of thing is also toxic femininity. So there's also that for toxic masculinity, just like the way, I mean, in Africa or Nigeria, or, mainly African countries or Black people in general, you tell a man, oh, you can't show emotions, you can't cry, you're supposed to be strong. All those is toxic masculinity. When you believe because you are a certain gender, you have to do certain things just because of that. Like, that is toxic masculinity, and that leads to, that leads to other things. Once you're telling a guy he can express his emotions, you can't. Can't say certain things. You have to always look strong. That leads to people bottling things up, and that leads to even more signs of toxic masculinity, like aggression, trying to feel like the stronger gender, and then you're then going away from what being a man is supposed to actually be. So it's now become, your masculinity is now becoming toxic when it's beginning to hurt or harm the other gender. So yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. I think we can end the whole program for today. We've literally, Seun has literally hit the nail on the head, and I'm really grateful for that. We're talking about overly using privileges that are available to women or men, or just their qualities, what makes them men. For example, the physical strength, the fact that, men are sometimes stronger. They are created, they are made to be stronger than the female in terms of both emotions and strength, just physical strength. I feel like that shouldn't prevent them from actually showing emotions, but it does. And like Seun rightly mentioned, it's very prevalent in our African culture. They tell men you can't show emotions. Emotions is a sign of weakness, and the man must not be weak in the relationship. Anger is fine, but all other emotions is no. It's not supposed to be. And then, we birth like this, we birth angry men, we birth violent men, out of all this toxic beliefs. And there's so many of them, actually. There's so many of them. A man can't truly be friends with a woman. And I think that one is actually quite prevalent, especially on social media. You're like, please, a man and a woman, you can't tell me you're just friends. Why? They keep saying things like, no, men can't, at the back of their head, they're thinking something else about their female friends. But I don't think it's always like that. And this is why we'll be looking forward to having guests. Hopefully by in 2 weeks or so, we should be able to get guests, male guests on the show, so they tell us what they think about these things. Because I don't think, what do you think, Seun? I don't think it's, when you say a man can't be friends with a woman, I don't think that's okay. Because why can't they just be friends? I don't think it's all the time that men have impure thoughts in their head, even with women as well. So what do you think about that? I don't think it's always like
I
that.
mean, I don't think it's always like that. Well, I guess why people say that is because from experience they've seen
Yes.
that most times it leads to that. But then are we saying that that is toxic masculinity?
I'm saying that those are some of the beliefs that birth toxic
Okay,
masculinity.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm saying those are some of the beliefs, a man and a woman can't be friends, or men have to solve everything through violence. Like the fist must speak when he's with men. The fist does not have to speak.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know all those things of being macho, being like those things are good.
Yeah.
But by the time you start to use it in a way that demeans another person, or for instance, a guy that doesn't necessarily have a lot of masculine features. I mean, there are some guys that are rather slender, very buff and built, and because you think you are built and big, you think you're more of a man than someone else who doesn't necessarily care for sports or doesn't. So all those type of things is I mean, that also that's toxic masculinity. Or when you think you're not good enough as a guy until you're that big. You're not good enough as a guy until you have attained a certain thing. All those things add up. Little things like that add up. And then when you feel like somebody is questioning your authority, not out of being rude, but just out of being inquisitive or something like that, you think, oh, this person is making me less of a man. That is definitely toxic masculinity. But like regarding what you said, saying a guy cannot be friends with a girl, I don't even know why people say that, because
I don't know either.
I have great friends that are guys, and they are purely my friends.
Same. Yes. Thank you so much. Well, for now we'll be going on a short break. When we return, we'll be looking more into toxic masculinity. So don't go anywhere. Please stay with us. Our song will be My Jehovah by Fumi Unstoppable.
Jehovah, Jehovah, who is like unto thee? Jehovah, Jehovah, will ever sing your praise. You've been wonderful. Jehovah, Jehovah, who is like unto thee? You've been wonderful. Jehovah, Jehovah, you've been helping me. Jesus, you've been helping me. You've been helping me. Jesus, you've been helping me. You've been keeping me. Jesus, you've been keeping me. You provide for me. Jesus, you provide for me. So I call you Jehovah, Jehovah Jireh, my great provider, you are. So I call you Jehovah, Jehovah Jireh, my great provider.
MZ Radio London in the mix.
Hi, my name is Marvellous.
And I'm Seun. Join us every Friday at 2 o'clock on Youth Today
as we delve into youth affairs and lifestyle today. We look forward to sharing with you.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back on the show with us. This is still Youth Today on MZ Radio London and AP Radio UK, and we have been talking about a very interesting topic: toxic masculinity. For this half of the show, I'm going to, of course, hand over to my co-host.
Okay. I was supposed to come in. I just realized that I was supposed to I apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
Anyway, yeah, so far we've been talking about what toxic masculinity is, but I also think now it'd be good if we then try to understand how we can start to curb these things, how we can change people's, well, I think I'm already saying it now, how we can change people's perspectives of, the different genders. So now we've talked about what toxic femininity is. Now we've talked about what toxic masculinity is. So, like, is it okay, like, even us that we're even talking sometimes, if you see a guy and you see a guy that is not, that is maybe not as, okay, now who can I use as an example? There's Prosper and there's maybe another person. So if somebody does not as masculine, or you tell the guys, oh, stop acting like a girl, act like
Oh,
a guy, and all
right.
those type of things.
Okay.
How do we as a society even move past those kind of stereotypical things that we have in our head? So, like, first and foremost, let me just say what I think. I think it starts from grooming the children. From when they are young, you already tell them, "Oh, why are you crying? See, your sister is not even crying. She's a girl. You're a boy and you're crying." That kind of thing. Those type of things are what I think birth toxic masculinity and toxic femininity. Femininity. Sorry, there are some ladies that are naturally strong-willed, good orators, eloquent, and everything, but sometimes they feel like they have to shrink themselves because I'm a woman. I have to fit into that box of a woman. Or some men who naturally wouldn't always be masculine or take the lead as they, but they are better at other things. I've seen a lot of husbands that their wives are like the public speakers, the orators, everything, but you don't know what goes on behind the scene. It's always the man that's the behind the scene man, putting everything together. He's the brains behind the operation, but the woman is just the one executing it. So how do we even move past it as a society and see that those things are normal?
Yes. I think, to be honest, I think you've mentioned a very important point, which is like, I'd say, the foundation of solution, because we need to start from the children, the
Yeah.
grooming, the growing up phase. And like you said, even me, to be honest, I think I'm quite guilty of that because
Same. That's what I said, even us.
yes. But I used to take care of children a lot when I was younger, and when I was in Nigeria as well. And sometimes, yeah, I'd say, come on, why are you crying? You're a guy. Come on, don't cry. Look at your sister isn't even crying, and she's a girl. I'm guilty of it as well. And now that we're thinking about it, yes, I mean, they can cry. What's so bad about crying? But
Exactly.
yeah, but
Celebration.
so I think it definitely starts from the grooming. It definitely, and the causes. We must also look at the causes of toxic masculinity, and it's traditional stereotypes. It's stereotypes that people grow up with. Oh, like you said, you mustn't, a man must not cry, must not show weakness. You must always be strong and always stand your ground and be
Yeah,
always self-confident,
exactly.
always confident. There
Always,
must be no.
always at alert. The time that they now slip
Exactly.
up, you're like, hey, yes,
If
train them like
if
this.
at some point in your life you're not able to provide for your family, you're a failure.
Yeah,
like,
and it
like
shouldn't be.
take it easy with them. Of course, even the Bible says it that a man should be able to provide for his
Okay.
family. I mean, it's your duty to provide for your family and take care of them. But it doesn't make, if they're unable to do it at some point because of life issues, it doesn't make them a failure. You understand? Parents need to be able to speak to their children like this. Even if growing up, society, things they see on social media has affected them, even if it's not the parents saying it. The world now is not, the training is not only from the parents. If the whole world trains the children now,
Okay.
which is it's really, really scary at times. Social media trains your children. Teachers, friends, they train your children. So even if it's not you directly telling them, pumping these stereotypes into their heads, then even when they're growing up, we need to start telling them, speaking to them, you're not a failure if you cry. You're not less of a man if you show your emotions. You can
Yes.
lean on your wife. Your wife is there. God has put, if you're married, God has put your wife there as a helpmate. You
Yeah.
could definitely lean on her. If you're not going to say what's wrong with you, some men never say what's wrong with their
Never,
head.
and they
They
keep
just
bottling
get
everything
angry and they
up,
don't
and
understand.
then they.
Yeah, and they don't understand that there is a transfer of aggression when the head of the family is like angry. Everyone is scared. No one wants to go to him to ask of anything because they can clearly see in his face that he's displeased at something. But your wife has been put there as a helpmate. Why don't you speak to them? But they feel like talking about their problems makes them less of a man, and they
Yeah.
can take care of it by
By
themselves.
themselves. Oh my
Yeah,
God,
but
that's so
but then
right.
what's the point of getting married then? If you can take care of everything by yourself, you can live by yourself, then live by yourself. Why are you getting married for?
Yeah.
But your wife and people around you, as human beings, we need each other to survive. We need to learn to lean on each other. It doesn't make any of us less than whatever we are. You understand? So I think those traditional stereotypes, we need to
Needs
deal
to
with
be,
them,
yeah.
and they won't be completely eradicated. They will not be completely eradicated. We can only curb them. We can't solve them completely because it's been on for years, thousands and thousands of years. So
Mhm.
I believe that with a little bit of talking, we can definitely at
Yeah.
least
Thank
reduce how
you.
much effect it has on them. You're
Yeah, I
welcome.
mean, I think you did a wonderful job there as well. I just quickly wanted to say that the change actually starts with us as well, because
Yeah.
this is like we're the next generation that are going
Mhm.
to be raising kids as well.
Mhm.
So I mean, just have it at the back of your mind. We're all going to be building homes soon. We're going to be doing things soon. So even in the way you act right now, make people okay and comfortable with the people they are. There's no need to come and say, oh, you have to be this way, you have to be that way. Although at the end of the day, let's not forget that the Bible is always our standard. The Bible should always be our standard. And we don't have so much time left, but I just wanted to wrap up because every time we always end with a Bible verse. But I just wanted us to even look at, if in this case of toxic femininity and feminism, let's just look at Proverbs 31. The Proverbs 31 woman didn't just say, I was going to stay in my house and lock myself up and be the woman and just shrink myself. She stepped in places where she could step in at the point, and she did everything necessary for the growth of her family and her husband. And I'm guessing her husband was also somebody who allowed her to be in that position. And that, I mean, there's one Bible passage for me as a woman, one Bible passage there, I think it's the last verse of Proverbs 31, that says, charm is deceitful and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord will be greatly praised. So that's where I want to just end with. I'm just going to hand over to Marvellous to round up.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. Thank you everyone for coming and joining on the show today. We appreciate your presence, but thank you for always connecting. We're still going to be here same time next week, Fridays at 2 p.m. Please join us for our little talk show called Youth Today. Please do subscribe to all our social media platforms. We're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram. So please do search us out at AP Radio UK. We'll be having guests next week. Please look forward to that. We'll be talking more on toxic femininity next week, and then the upper week we'll be talking about toxic masculinity with more guests. So please look forward to that. We'll be hearing their different opinions on this topic. And of course, that brings us to the end of today's show. We thank you for joining us one more time. Thanks to my beautiful co-host as well as our producers.